I want you guys to start thinking about that vision life. And we're going to talk about that exercise in a bit. But I want to give you an example of where resistance shows up and you still need to kind of push through to stand in your intention because your vision is stronger than your circumstance, if that makes sense. So I'll give you, I'm going to talk about my professional life and where I first had, it just blows my mind that this happened when I was 23. I graduated college just with my undergrad from George Washington University in DC, and I decided to go start my life in San Francisco. Very courageous, right? And also because I knew that if I went back to New York after I graduated, I would never leave New York. And it was a time when San Francisco was having a boom in business and technology, and it was a laid-back city. I mean, it was very different than what it was today. I'm not going to, well, you guys all know my age, but it was back in 97 is when I moved. So I graduated college. So you imagine, I'm like 22, have a business degree, whatever that means. And I had worked through college, so I had experience. I had a resume built up, etc. And my vision at that time was to be an explorer and go check out another city and see if I could make it. Well, with that experience came a lot of learning, not only from a personal standpoint, but really at that time, my focus was my professional life. So I was like, what is it going to be? I don't know. I was told I had to go join a company and climb a corporate ladder. That's what I was told. So that was my vision. I was going to climb it, and that's success, right? So I did it. But before I actually found the firm that would have let me grow, I hit a glass ceiling at 23 years old. If you can imagine, people go through this all the time, but they still suffer through it because they don't know any different. Their vision isn't strong enough for their life to push past the barriers that are just right in front of them right now. So when I joined this firm, I was a systems analyst. Somehow I got a systems analyst job. Had zero technology background, but I guess I talked a good game. I don't know how I got the job, but I got it. And it was for a large bank. And the reason I said yes to the job was because the salary at that time was $38K a year, which was a lot for a recent graduate. Like I was just out of college and I got the system analyst job. So I start the work, I'm doing everything I'm doing, but because me and my overachiever side, because I was definitely conditioned to do more than what was asked of me, because it was rewarded when I did it. It was a behavior that I learned at a young age, that I continue to do that with my work life. So in that realm, it got a little crazy. I started to devote more time to my work than anything else. I ended up having like a pager at the time because I don't think we had cell phones then, or like it was very rare to have a cell phone, where then I would be on like 911 calls, or the company gave me a phone, something. Either way, I was working nights and weekends and at the office and managing this daily influx of system analyst work, which was mainly like frontline support for a back-end system. Anyway, more technical than you need to know. Regardless, I got so excited when they announced that a new manager was coming in to manage the team because it was so haphazard. I mean, it was like everything was chaos and we were all in reactionary mode, and I kept putting processes in place, and I had no experience. I was right out of college. I had had jobs before, but I really was looking to learn from someone and grow. So I was very excited that they announced that this middle manager was coming in between me and the VP of the group. So great. Happened to be a woman. Super excited for her to join. She came on board, and she was a bit seasoned in her career, but I don't think she ever had exposure to this type of work, where you're dealing with technical frontline support and a very high demanding user team. Now, mind you, the users loved me, they would call me, and that's why I was so busy, but my health was actually being affected because the stress level was so high, and I wasn't getting any rest. And I actually had an ER visit because I got so sick one night from the stress that my whole digestive tract just was a hot mess. So something was wrong. And I was very lucky that one of my best friends from DC came to move to San Francisco to be with me and like start her life out there. And she's still here to this day. I've moved across the country several times, but it was really cool that she showed up when I needed her, because she ended up living with me until we found our own 2-bedroom apartment together. every day she would tell me, quit your effing job. Every day. She would say that because I was not myself. I had conformed into something that was unrecognizable of who I am and my greatness, right? Like, and at 23, it's the beginning of our lives, right? And so here I am suffering, thinking I'm going to get rewarded for the suffering. But here's one of my reflection of best friends telling me, this is not you. You need to get out. So, you know, those words were creeping in, but I'm a very responsible person. I still showed up every day. Then, after that ER visit, because she was with me during that, thank God she was with me during that, because she's the one that got me to the ER. But it made me question, okay, now I got to like reassess. This is not right. Something's got to change. With the new manager in place, I decided, okay, I'm going to like map out for her. This is what I'm doing, you know, what I was hired for, and this is what I'm doing. Do you have a growth plan for me? Because what I definitely knew in my story at that time was I was going to climb in a firm, lead a team, be an executive. Like that was my vision at that time. Because that's all I knew. That was the box of success story that I lived in. And so my goal was to achieve that. So of course I have to leverage who's done it before me. And she had. And it was actually rare to see because the VP was female. And then also she came in and was a female. It was really cool. And I was excited about seeing like women in leadership to see how they could influence my life. Like I thought it could be relatable. So I sit down with her in my one-on-one and I map out. I said, you know, I wanted to show you like what I was originally hired for and then the list of things I'm actually doing. And I just want to ask you, do you see growth potential here with me in this group? Do you like, what would you see next for me? How can you help me grow? Like those type of questions. I wasn't saying I need all this stuff off of my plate. I'm like stressed out. I wasn't bitching. I wasn't whining. I was literally just asking for a plan. And this woman looked at me and she almost smacked her lips with some arrogance. It was really bizarre. And she goes, I don't know what you're complaining about. What you're doing is your job. So just get back to work. And I was floored. I said, how could I work so hard, put all of myself in there, 23 years old, and you're telling me you're not going to help me, you're not going to map out a plan. I wasn't even asking for more money. I was just asking for a plan. But what I didn't realize, and I learned very quickly, was that she was threatened by me. I had been running the operations of the team that she came in hired to do. And I think, you know, looking in hindsight, because ultimately, I would say 3 days later, I resigned because it wasn't my story to stay working in this situation if there was no growth plan for me. And I at least was savvy enough to know that. So what ended up happening next, and why I felt that she must have been threatened by me, was that she replaced me with a man, paid him twice as much, and gave him an assistant to do my job. Literally a one-to-one situation. And what I realized was no one's going to look out for me but me. I was very proud of myself for having a hard conversation to understand the boundaries I was working within and try to work with it. But what I ultimately realized was that that place wasn't for me, and my vision for my life is much bigger than this situation at this time. Does that resonate with any of you? Can you relate to times where you just were stunted by other people's limitations, and yet you pushed through it because you knew something in you was much bigger than that? Because that's what living in your vision life or towards your vision life is all about. If I think about my goals and where I want to be and go, nobody stops me but me. If I think about where I'm trying to go, no one understands it but me. Of course, I want to take my friends, family, husband, dogs with me everywhere, right? And grow with me into that vision life. So of course they're on that board and you know, in that space with me, celebrating the life we built together. But the truth of it is that vision is yours. So I want you to really think about that and the story of limitations that we put on ourselves, because when we're not fulfilled in one area, that's the